Hi, I'm Kristen Amdahl and welcome back to my studio. In these videos, I want to show you some tips and tricks for making the Larissa Crochet Motif Scarf. This beautiful scarf is a one-ball project. It is a simple one-round motif that is joined as you go without cutting yarn between motifs. It works up quickly with only 2 ends to weave in at the end and makes a fantastic last-minute gift. You will need 300 yards of number 2 sport weight yarn, a G6 or 4mm crochet hook, yarn needle, and scissors. The project shown is in Sporty BLING yarn in color Meteor Shower. This is the 4th and final video for the Larissa Motif Scarf. In part 1, I showed you how to do the first row of motifs. These motifs are joined as you go without cutting yarn, and they use a specific technique to do that. So in the first video, I showed you how to work the first row of motifs. In the second video, how to work the second row of motifs. And in the third video, how to work the third row of motifs, along side by side with how to read the chart for each of those sections as well. So now in the 4th video, I want to show you how to read the chart for the 4th row of motifs and then how to do it on the yarn, and then we will finally be able to complete all of the motifs along the left side column to finish our project. The Larissa scarf is a 30 motif wide by 4 row high scarf, again without having to cut yarn between the motifs, which is absolutely amazing. If you're modifying this in any way, it is the middle motif where it says 2 through 29, 32 through 59, 62 through 89, 92 through 119. It is this middle motif in each row that you would add different multiples if you were making this wider or narrower than I made the scarf. This scarf is 30 motifs wide. If you wanted to make a project that is more or less than 4 rows of motifs tall or wide as far as the scarf goes, you would repeat the 3rd and 4th rows for however long you wanted to continue making rows for the project. And it will always be on your last round or last row of motifs that you will come down and finish along the side. So let's see how we get started on the 4th and final row for the Larissa scarf. And remember, we always start with the blue section. So it's a chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain from your hook to form the ring, chain 3, slip stitch to the 3rd chain, double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring. And the rest of this is left unworked until further notice. We're only going to partially complete the first motif until the end of the row. So let's do that little component, and then I'll keep coming back to the chart to show you what we're going to do before we do it. So we start with a chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain from your hook, chain 3, slip stitch to the 3rd chain, leaving that first chain unworked. Then working around those 2 chain 3s, work a double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, yarn over your hook, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops on the hook. And so now we're finished with the amount of work that we needed to get done for the first partial motif at the beginning of the row. So now we come back to blue, chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain from your hook to form the ring, chain 3, slip stitch to the 3rd chain, leaving that last chain unworked, double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, slip stitch to the adjacent motifs cluster stitch, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, slip stitch to the adjacent motifs cluster stitch, and chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring. So this is the amount that we're going to be partially working the second motif in the row. And again, that's the motif that you would repeat in the middle of however large your row is of motifs. So it starts with the chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain from your hook to form the ring, chain 3, slip stitch into the 3rd chain, leaving the last chain unworked, working over those 2 chain 3s, work a double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, and then we will slip stitch to the adjacent motifs cluster stitch, chain 3, working back in our working motif, 3 double crochet cluster, then slip stitch into the next motifs cluster stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochet cluster in the ring again. Okay, and that's what our second motif partially completed should look like. Again, we're repeating this one for however many we need in the middle of the row, just like it says here. So I'll do a second one of the middle motif. And if you're doing the scarf, you would do a total of 28 of the middle motif. Okay, we have our second repeat of the middle motif partially completed. Now, we talked about this in the last video, but I wanted to bring it up again because it's really important. Remember that this is an offset pattern, so sometimes, like on every other row, the last motif juts out or the last motif tucks in from the one below. The offset pattern means that any given motif is worked to the right or the left of the motif below it. So even though you may look at this and go, oh, there's 2 motifs left to go. If you ended up putting 2 motifs here, you'd end up increasing. You want to make sure that you set your work down side by side with your chart. And the good news is crochet is anatomically correct. So how it looks in the yarn is pretty close to how it looks on the chart. So when you set your work down, it can give you a better bearing on what's going on. And if you look here, based on the black and blue section here where we're partially completing our motifs, you can see that first one is barely a quarter of a motif, and then we have a half here, and we did this one a second time, so here. So it's right here that we're actually doing our last motif for this row. This is the offset one that tucks in, not the one that juts out. So let's read the chart for our final motif of the row 4 of motifs, and it starts in blue with a chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain from your hook to form a ring, chain 3, slip stitch to the 3rd chain, leaving that last chain unworked, double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, slip stitch to the next motif's adjacent cluster stitch, chain 3, oh, there should be a chain 3 here, cluster stitch in the chain 5 ring, slip stitch to the adjacent motif's cluster stitch, then chain 3, cluster stitch in the ring 3 times, chain 3, and single crochet in that first chain 1 space. So let's do that with our yarn now. So it's a chain 9, slip stitch to the 5th chain, chain 3, slip stitch to the 3rd chain, leaving that last chain unworked, working over the 2 chain 3s, work a double crochet in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, slip stitch to the next adjacent cluster stitch on the row below, chain 3, working back in our working motif, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, slip stitch in the next motif's adjacent cluster stitch, chain 3, and then 3 double crochet cluster, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, and then we'll repeat chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster 2 more times, chain 3, and single crochet in the chain 1 space at the beginning of the round to join. So now we've finished our last motif at the end of the 4th row of motifs. So now we'll come back to the chart, and we want to partially complete all of the middle motifs. Again, if you're doing the scarf, there would be 28 of this one, but we're doing a reduced size sample, so there's only 2 of the middle motif here. It's going to be chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring times 2, chain 3, and single crochet in the chain 1 space at the beginning of the round to join. So I'll show you how to do that with the yarn. Chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, chain 3, single crochet in the chain 1 space at the beginning of the round to join. And we'll do that a second time for our second repeat of the middle motif. You would be doing this 28 times for the middle motifs on the scarf. Okay, and now we're ready to finish not only the first motif at the end of row 4, but we're also going to be able to complete all the motifs that were along the outside edge, or the first motifs of each row. So we'll start with the top one. This is the first motif in row 4, and it's going to be chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring times 2, 3, 4 times 4, chain 3, and I don't know why it's missing here, but there's supposed to be a single crochet here. So there's supposed to be a chain and then a single crochet. Where else were we missing a chain? Over here. Okay, anyway, so then we'll do this one, and then I'm going to come back to the chart again to show you how to do the rest of the motifs along the edge. So starting with the first one here, it's chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring 4 times, chain 3, and single crochet to that first chain at the beginning of the round to join. So you can see the first motif at the beginning of round 4 is done, and now we're going to be working backwards, completing the first motif of row 3, row 2, and row 1. So for the first motif of row 3 of motifs, it's going to be chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring, chain 3, and single crochet in the first chain 1 space. So that we'll do that with the yarn then. Chain 3, 1, 3 double crochet cluster in the ring. Now, if for some reason you're getting confused as you're doing this, you're like, oh, I don't remember how many clusters to do in any one of these. Remember that they're all supposed to have 6 at the end of the motif. So however many are chain 3 and then single crochet. I'll come back to that. Single crochet in the first chain. So however many are there, minus 6 is how many you still need to do. So this one has 3 motifs right now, or 3 clusters. You're going to need 3 more. So we'll come down to the the first motif at the beginning of row 2, and just as I suspected, it's chain 3, cluster stitch times 3, and then chain 3, single crochet in the first chain. And if you look at it, there's 3 clusters there, so we're going to need 3 more to make it a total of 6. So even if you got lost on the chart, you could figure this out too. So it's chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster times 3, chain 3, and single crochet in the first chain at the beginning of the round to join. So now we see we've got our first motif complete on the second row of motifs. So all that's left now is to finish the last partial bit of the first motif of the whole project and the first motif of the first row, and that is to do a chain 3 and slip stitch to the first chain at the beginning of the round to join. So chain 3 and slip stitch to the first chain 3 at the beginning of the round to join. And there we have it. We have our project completed, ready to fasten off. And how amazing is this? We have, so whether you're doing the full scarf, which would be 60 times 4, 240 motifs, or even this small sample that's 4 by 4 motifs, 16 motifs, this would be 16 motifs, would be 32 ends to weave in if you had to join these after cutting yarn after every motif. And if you were doing the full-size scarf at 240 motifs, that would be 480 ends to weave in at the end of your project. But not with this technique. There's only 2 ends to weave in, the beginning and end of your project. If you follow the link in the video description, you can download the pattern with written instructions and detailed charts. You can get information on all of my yarns, including the Be So Sporty Bling yarn in color Meteor that I used for the Larissa scarf. And you can also find a link in the video description for all 4 parts of this video where I go over step by step how to navigate through this really cool crochet motif technique. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all about anything we talked about in this video, please leave them for me in the comments. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you in the next video.